So I'm going to talk a little bit about the what we're proposing to do in this funding, which we received from the is receiving from the Building Secure and Resilient World program that Amber has already talked about, and then describe a little bit about the opportunity which we're offering for the whole community, for you to get involved in this, as we are setting, we want to set up a Centre of Excellence Resilience Infrastructure Analysis based around DAFNI. Okay, I won't go into what we have on DAFNI already. I know that some of you already know about DAFNI, already know what we offer and we support. And if you want to know further information, please come talk to us or look on our website, or and find plenty of information we have. But the reminder of what DAFNI offers. So DAFNI is a computational platform which offers a place where researchers, particularly researchers who are working in national infrastructure systems, can access can share and combine their data and models, so they can access some hybrid high performance computing platform. But more than that, we have a place where we can bring together, we can store data from different places, from different research projects, different groups, and also more particularly the models, the code that they're producing to analyze particular features of national infrastructure in one repository, to make them shareable and a place where you can then combine them, and then you can use those data and models to support your collaborations on the collaborative platform, so you can combine models from different places, different sources, access the data, build complex model systems, workflows, to then to do things you wouldn't be able to do just on one model alone. And then after the end of projects, we offer a place as a legacy, a place where we can keep on supplying those data and models available, hopefully for the long term, and in a traceable way, where you can track the provenance of how results were generated. So DAFNI has been going on for a few years now, and been involved in a number of different projects. So we feel that it forms a good basis to carry on with this next phase of work. And so the next phase is as we already mentioned, is to set up a Centre of Excellence for Resilient Infrastructure Analysis. So the idea here is that we want to provide a place for exploring and strengthening resilience in our natural and built environment in response to short-term and long-term shocks, using computational modelling to support that research. So we are thinking in terms of short-term shocks, a flood event or a heat event, or some emergency response, or some cybersecurity attack, or something which is a relatively short length of time, but also potentially looking at longer-term shocks to the system, things like climate change, changes in demographics, changes in economics, changes in pandemics, and those sort of longer term shocks that we would consider to our society. So we're thinking of quite a broad remit. So we kind of had a bit of a thought about the kind of things we were looking at, might look at. So this, I won't go through this list, but this is a sort of list of some thoughts, ideas of the sorts of scenarios we might be thinking of in terms of scenarios that we might explore in this new centre on DAFNI. This is a non-exclusive list, and we may not cover all of these, but these are just examples of the sorts of things we might have. So responses to natural weather emergencies, looking at supply chains, resilience of utilities against various changes, pandemics, cybersecurity, climate change, and shocks to energy supply. So all these sorts of things would be the sorts of things we might consider as areas where we'd want to explore resilience. And to give an example of a piece of work that we've been involved with over the last couple of years, We've been involved in a project called CReDo, which involves a number of organisations, but now being led by the Connected Places Catapult, to build a climate resilience demonstrator. So this is a demonstrator which is using some of the DAFNI capability to look at the response to a flood event in a town, and looking at how it affects the different utility systems in that town, particularly water supplies, energy supplies, and telecommunication networks, and particularly how they're connected together and how they impact each other. So the resilience of one asset in one of those networks is dependent on the resilience of other assets in the different network. So that cross domain, that cross network effect is kind of an important part of that, and that's been a really, quite an interesting and really quite a successful demonstrator of how we might explore resilience using computational modelling to combine multi-systems models together. Okay, so moving on back to our Centre of Excellence, what sort of things do we want to do in the Centre of Excellence? Well, firstly, we want to provide a centre of expertise and capacity to support computational modelling for the resilience challenges across the programme. So Amber highlighted the 5 themes in the programme. We want to provide some expertise as part of our core capability to support that programme, whether it's digital twins, whether it's running models for supply chains, a variety of different things. As part of that, we want to provide sort of extending our current collections, so our collection of compute or modelling resources and data resources, which we have in the DAFNI repositories, to provide a collection of those resources which are of value, you can be seen as long-term value to exploring security and resilience. We want then to provide a program of research to explore resilience via computational modelling using the DAFNI platform, and then we'll be doing some development on the platform, extending the capability of the platform to support and enrich those resilience scenarios as we need to. There are things we know that we would like to do on the platform that would definitely extend what we can do to support these scenarios. And finally, to engage with a wider stakeholder community to employ the platform and the programme. And then, so this is kind of naturally maps onto a programme where we will do these things, and this is not quite exactly the same mapping, but it's close. So supporting computational platform, making DAFNI a platform available, support that free and open access to which we provide to the community to that programme, develop the reference collection, provide tools for exploring and evaluating resilience. So this is particularly a framework of tools which look at what resilience means in general, and I'll discuss this more in a minute. Develop resilience scenarios, do some core development, and then do engagement. So this is the funding we have both for the core team is supporting this, and the core team will continue doing these activities. However, we very much see this as a community centre of excellence, and want to extend the engagement of the project of the centre beyond the core team, very much so. And this is where we see that you would come in to extend our community participation, and particularly in these 4 areas which we highlight here. We want to develop this reference collection. We need guidance from the community on what models and data should be provided in that reference collection. We want to provide tools for exploring and evaluating resilience, but we need help from researchers to say what is the best way to assess models for their values in supporting resilience in the framework. We want your help on developing resilience scenarios and engagement with the wider community. So we see this very much as building the community, the Centre of Excellence as a community activity participation in our programme. So to that end, we are announcing funding for a research programme today, where we're releasing around £1.4 million available. That's at 80% FEC, so the total fund is £1.75 million. But we will fund £1.4 million of that for projects of up to 18 months. And we have 3 funding streams in that, 3 types of projects that we would like to see supported in that. Firstly, supporting key models. Secondly, developing a resilience framework. And thirdly, exploring resilience scenarios. So applicants can apply for any or all of these. However, we would request that people specify which one they're applying for and keep them separate. So you can't apply for more than one stream in one application. You have to put your application in the context of one and only one of these 3 funding modalities. So I'll go through these 3 in turn, what we're looking for in each of these. So as I already mentioned, we'd like to provide a collection of key models and data to support research into resilience. But as I'm sure that people here know, computational models are hard to develop and sustain and require a lot of domain expertise. So what we are looking for is the applicants should propose an existing model. We feel that there isn't the something here to do something from scratch, but an existing model that people have been working on, which is seen as value to the wider community to support research and resilience infrastructure. And what the Centre of Excellence will do will be to support research software engineering time to support the ongoing maintenance and evolution of that model. So things like packaging, versioning, licensing, documenting the model, making it more high quality and robust, enhancing its coverage, so making it more generalizable, and making it openly available on the DAFNI platform, so packaging it onto the DAFNI platform, so in an open way that other people can access and use it to work in their scenarios. And also, as part of that, provide some examples of how we would anticipate that model being supported. So what this is very much providing additional support to existing developments. So what we're thinking of is approximately £50,000 would be about right to support some research software engineering time during that 18-month period, and we would expect to support 4 to 6 of this sort of project overall. The second sort is developing a resilience framework, and I said I'd say a little bit more on this. So we would like to provide tools for exploring and evaluating resilience, but we have to ask the question, what do we really mean by resilience, and how do we express that, and how do we assess when you've built a model of an infrastructure system on the platform, how do you assess whether it really is resilient? In what sense? Can you quantify it in any way? So what we're looking at is a framework of tools and techniques where we can express resilience. So things, we've seen things, people look at these sort of things, and they're looking at things like uncertainty quantification, sensitivity analysis, looking at how redundancy and failover work, how things cascade through a system, and how other things are interconnected within a sort of resilience life cycle of sort of react, resist, react, adapt, and sort of anticipate future shocks. So what we'd like to see is some applied research based on the state of the art that exists in this area to provide a framework for the Centre of Excellence to do a resilience valuation within infrastructure system engineering. We would see this as very much as providing leadership, very steering to the Centre of Excellence in the approach to analysing resilience, and it should recommend tools and processes which we can then look to adopt into the DAFNI platform to provide generic tools that we can then provide later to assess resilience. And we are looking here for 1 or 2 projects at most, with funds of around £200,000 to support those projects. And the final area is supporting resilient scenarios. So what we'd like to have is a portfolio of examples of example research which explore how resilient particular infrastructure systems are to a short-term or a long-term shock. The project, within the research community, would develop a scenario within the platform, making use of the capabilities of DAFNI. So what applicants should do here is propose a scenario which allow responses to a shock to be explored using a DAFNI platform. So it should say how they would access, use and combine data and computational models to look at the impact of shock, propose appropriate responses and adaptations to resist, absorb and recover from shocks. They should be made available via the DAFNI platform. They should consider things about how they would scale up or how they would move from one location to another, or span across different infrastructures. And they should consider how they interact with the wider natural environment, the wider economy and wider society. So we would anticipate quite a wide range of funds available depending on the scale of what people are proposing. So it could be between £100,000 and £250,000 for an individual project over 18 months. We'd expect to support 3 or 6 of these. They could be, particularly for the larger size, they could be multi-institution. Okay, and then finally, what we expect from all projects. So all the projects part of the stream, we would request that they would be able to start by the 1st of October, and they would need to finish by the 31st of March 2025, because that's when the end of this particular phase of the Building Secure and Resilience Programme finishes. As Amber mentioned, we are hoping and anticipating that there will be follow-on funding beyond that, but this is what we can put in place at the moment. So it's quite a short timescale, so we would request people can provide an idea of how they would expect to get their resources so they can get going quickly as possible. They should provide an engagement plan, so they say how that should affect the wider stakeholders in academia, government and industry. They should work with the core DAFNI team to coordinate, who will be doing coordination across the various projects. They should provide outputs onto the DAFNI platform, and at the end we would expect a short report that we can publish on the DAFNI platform. And finally, there'll be some events that DAFNI runs, particularly a couple of user conferences, one in this September, which I'll mention right at the end, and one in 2024. We appreciate the September 23 one is before the anticipated start, so we would provide additional travel funds for that, for people to attend that. And then people are going to expect help and advice from the core DAFNI team. There'll be access to the shared resources DAFNI platform. We would provide training and advice on using the platform, and we would provide user support and potentially some development support as needed for the requirements of the project. So that's kind of on an as needed basis. And the idea is that projects would really become then part of the Centre of Excellence. This is about bringing the community together to participate in that Centre of Excellence. So at that point, I'll stop that part of the presentation, and here I'm going to talk a little bit more about the details of how to apply. Okay, so just a reminder, we have these 3 streams. which we are proposing to fund at this kind of level, and you should be very welcome to apply to more than one, but you need to do a separate application for each type of stream, so we can divide them out. So this is kind of what we will be looking for you to provide. So there'll be a track record. So most of this is the kind of thing you might expect on a normal sort of research proposal. So track record, just a short description of your track record. 1 page per institution, 2 pages maximum, up to 1 page per institution. And then a description of research, a short description of around about 2 pages. And as we've got 3 different streams, we would like to see slightly different things for each stream. So firstly, clearly identify which stream you're funding for, you're applying for. And then if you're looking for a key model, a description of that model and its coverage, application to how that affects resilience scenarios and how that can be used in research on resilience, and then how you would, any enhancements or and use cases you would expect to bring during the course of the project. If you're looking to develop a resilience framework, a description of the research you're proposing, its application to various shocks and its practical application to the DAFNI platform. As I said, this is a short thing with very much applied research, so we expect this to be based largely on state of the art rather than original additional research. And then if you're looking to develop and demonstrate a resilience scenario, again, description of the research undertaken, how your methods used, how you'd apply that to a particular scenario in response to shocks, where you think what data you would need and what models you would use, and how that might be delivered on the DAFNI platform. So yeah, slight variations on descriptions of research depending on what stream you're applying for. And then a description up to a couple of pages on what activities you're proposing, outline Gantt chart, the work plan essentially, outline Gantt chart, the timelines, key outputs and milestones, and the activities you're actually planning to deliver as part of the grant application. And then a stakeholder engagement plan, so that requires outreach activities, who you expect to impact and how. Justification of resources, so your overall costs and details of funding, any contributions of third parties, and here you should indicate your plan for providing resources to ensure rapid initiation of the project. Appreciate that can be quite difficult, but we would appreciate some indication, given that there's quite a short time scale on getting these systems, these projects up and running. Further, if there's any particular assumptions you have on what you expect from the DAFNI core team on terms of time and resources, that would be very grateful if we could specify that. If you can, we'll be available for discussion via email or via the Slack channels prior to submitting, if you want to talk a bit more detail about that. And then a couple of things which are sort of mandatory, part of the process, CVs of researchers and an equality, diversity and inclusion statement based on the standard UKRI policies for that. And then there'll be this will be put through JES and the JES submission application form, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with, will include the standard sort of financial and contact details you'd typically expect. So what will we fund? So staff time and overheads, appropriate travel and subsistence, support activities and consumables associated with public engagement and wider outreach activities are all eligible. We won't expect to fund capital equipment, and this is not eligible to cover postgraduate studentships. But projects should involve, but they should include that stakeholder engagement plan, and we will, the project should cover funds for those activities. As I said, STFC will fund 80% FEC using Standard Research Council fully economic cost models. Deadlines, it's quite a tight schedule, I'm afraid. The call itself is not open yet. It will be open on, we're expecting it to be open on 12th of April. So this is all pre-announcement at the moment. There will be a pre-announcement on the UKRI funding finder webpage, hopefully a week in advance, so before Easter. Applications then be accepted through JES. Again, UKRI's funding finder webpage will give more details on that. Our call will then close on the 31st of May. We will then go through a reviewing process. We are setting up a panel to review these, and reviewers and reviewing panel, which will meet in, we expect will meet and make its decision making by early July. So as rapid a review process as we can get through, and hopefully plan to communicate the results by 21st July. That's our current plan. And then the PI and teams will be invited to present what they're planning to do at the DAFNI conference, which is on the 12th of September at Imperial College. As I said, we will provide travel funds for that to support that, considering it's before the beginning of when we expect projects to start. Projects then we expect to start well as soon as possible, but realistic start date will be the 1st of October, and must, as I say, finish by the 31st of March 2025, so 18-month period. So more information, there'll be more information. We have an event here which is being organised through UCRIC on the 27th of March here at the Ohio Laboratory, about DAFNI in general. You can join our mailing list, which is available on our website, and there'll be more information on our website. And as I said, it will be on the funding finder at the end of March. And finally, a shout out for our conference again, which we are now planning to have at Imperial College in the 12th and 13th September. We're hoping that the second day will be a sort of sandpit day, and there may be more opportunities arising from that. But so keep an eye out for that. Okay, so thank you for listening. Thanks for attending.